Well, welcome to Washington once again. I'm former Congressman Joe DioGuardi, the volunteer president of the Albanian American Civic League. This is a very important room for the Albanian people because this is the major hearing room for the Committee on International Relations. And this is where the issues that concern Albanians in the Balkans, or Albanians anywhere, even Albanian Americans, this is where we have to expose those issues to try to get legislative action, hopefully signed by the president, so that Albanians can get justice. And that's what this is all about. That's what Washington and the House of Representatives is all about. How do we bring fairness, justice to people? In this case, we're talking about the Albanian people. This is a very historic room for us because, as you can see, as I point the camera, there's the chairman's picture up there. That's Congressman Henry Hyde on the wall. And many of us were here for the unveiling of that portrait last May. And he's the chairman. And many of you know that we were here on May 21st and had a very important hearing for the independence of Kosovo, co-chaired by Henry Hyde as the chairman and Congressman Tom Lantos as the ranking member, and that is the #1 Democrat on the committee. And here we have our old friend Ben Gilman, who just retired. And Ben is still a friend. He's now the president's delegate to the General Assembly of the United Nations. And with Ben, we still have the attention that we need from important bodies. In this case now, the United Nations. There's one other picture I'd like to show because many people forget that we had another important Democratic chairman, Dante Fascell. When I was a congressman back in 1985 to 89, it was Dante Fascell who allowed us to have the first hearing in 1987 for Albanian rights in the former Yugoslavia. And that's the first hearing where we mentioned Kosovo. So this is kind of a shrine or a museum for the Albanian people in many respects. Certainly it's part of my history as a former congressman and now as a volunteer activist for the Albanian people. And here today we have a hearing on the rights of Albanians in Montenegro. And we have Albanians from all over America. And as you can see, some Albanians are lost and they're calling me on my phone. We'll just have to wait. In any case, we have here Albanians from Atlantic City, from Detroit, from New York, from California, and they all have families in Montenegro. They are concerned about what is going on in Montenegro because their families have to live there every day. And what this is all about is to have a hearing so that representatives, Albanian representatives of that community, can talk about some of the issues that they feel need improvement. And here's walking in now one of our friends, Congressman Dana Rohrabacher. He's a Republican, and he was nice enough to join us. And you know, he's from California, and right now his district's on fire. I was out there this week, and you can imagine the problems he's had. Hey, Dana.
Hey, Joe.
Come over here and say hello to... Everybody know Dana Rohrabacher, California, Republican. Good. Well, let me introduce a great congressman. I was just in his district. A beautiful place. My God, that Ritz-Carlton at Dana Point is really something.
Except for all the smoke that's coming
you're
over
right.
from the fires.
But I was on the water, and luckily after the first day, the breeze started blowing the other way. But Dana has had problems, obviously, with his district being partly on fire. He had to return to Washington, and he's concerned about it. But he took time to come over here, and we appreciate your presence.
I just had a press conference trying to clear some of the roadblocks. You know, even in a democracy, you've got bureaucracy, and we have some roadblocks that are preventing people who would like to help out in fighting the fires from actually doing their best job. So I just came from a press conference trying to help the fires in California.
Well, thank you, and it's the fact that you took the time to be here, and we hope this is going to start soon, but someone said there's someone running around with a gun. Did you hear this? They shut some of the buildings?
Yeah, they shut the Congressional office buildings down because apparently someone was trying to bring a gun in, and then he grabbed it and ran away.
Ran away with it. Let's hope he ran away and not in.
Yes.
We don't know. But in any case, one of the most important things that we did this year was a hearing on the independence of Kosovo. And it was co-chaired by Chairman Hyde and Congressman Tom Lantos. But I can tell you that the person who really understands this issue, as well as anyone else, is Congressman Dana Rohrabacher. and the testimony he gave, his statement was so compelling. And maybe you'd like to say a few points about Kosovo and why independence you think is important.
Well, maybe we'll talk a little bit about what we're going to talk here about today. There are two major things that can bring peace to this world, and that is if you do recognize people's human rights and their their ability to make democratic decisions in the countries they live, and number two, that we respect people's right to control their own destiny and for people to actually live in the country that they want to live in. And in Kosovo, obviously, the people of Kosovo, by the vast majority, want to have a country that reflects their values and that they believe that Kosovo is not part of Serbia. And there's no doubt. I mean, it's a vast majority of people. Well, what's happening, we're putting off recognizing that fact. Our government hasn't been willing to step forward because we don't want to have a crisis. Well, in the end, it's going to cause a horrible crisis because the people of Serbia are being given the wrong message. And the wrong message is that they have some chance to control Kosovo.
Which is 95% Albanian.
And don't want to be part of Serbia. So it's a wrong message, and I'm afraid it's going to lead to a conflict. Now, the other important element in having a peaceful society is what? It's making sure we respect each other's human rights. And I would hope that those Serbs that want to stay in Kosovo, that their rights are respected,
yes.
that they're not subject to brutality or they're not subject to harassment,
right.
And that's important. Well, that same thing is true, of course, of Albanians who live
in Montenegro
or Serbia or wherever, Macedonia,
exactly.
and that we should be respecting the rights of our minorities, and we should be respecting the rights of people to have their own country. Those are not contradictory, and they're two sides of the same coin. And so it's important today that we make sure that Albanian people who live in these countries like Montenegro or Serbia, that they understand that we aren't turning a blind eye, and that the people in the rest of the country in those countries realize we care about the human rights of these people. But it's consistent caring, because we don't want anyone in any of these countries, any minority, to be mistreated.
Exactly. And one of the subtle connections between the hearing we had in May and this hearing is that, as you know, the new constitution for the new state of Rump Yugoslavia called Serbia Montenegro says that Kosovo is part of that state, and this is very upsetting. Now, one of the reasons we wanted this was to show how Albanians are treated in Montenegro, to demonstrate why they would resist becoming part of a state called Serbia and Montenegro, because of the egregious human rights violations of that minority there. If they can't respect the minority that's there already, how are they going to respect another 2 million Albanians that they want to put in that state?
Yes, well, it's if the United States doesn't step up to the plate and start making some of these decisions, it should be easy for us to make the decision that wherever a minority group is, whether it's a Serbian minority group or an Albanian minority group, that we are not going to put up with anybody traipsing on the human rights of these people and treating them badly. But at the same time, we need to step up to the plate and recognize that Kosovo has a right to exist as an independent government, because the vast majority of people,
and
they want that.
Self-determination.
Sure, self-determination, just like we were in our country. We were part of another country before. We had a thing called the Declaration of Independence.
Yes.
And our founding document starts out with why we're trying to explain the right of people to determine their own destiny.
Okay.
And here we have Tom Lantos.
Here's the great chairman, Congressman Tom Lantos, who's just joined us. I do take this here. Tom, welcome.
It's great to see you.